The promise I give you is not a whisper of wishful thinking. It is a declaration from me, anchored in eternity. When it seems impossible, that does not mean it is untrue. It means you are standing at the edge of a miracle, and the terrain between where you are and where I promised you looks like a chasm only to human sight. Hear me. What appears impossible to you is not beyond my ability. Move from doubt into the discipline of trust, for I am already working the unseen to bring my word to pass. The weight of impossible and the truth behind it. Human eyes measure possibility by what they can see, touch, and tally. When the promise I've spoken into your life confronts circumstances that contradict it, your heart feels heavy with the weight of impossible. Mountains rise, timelines stretch, people fail, resources run dry. The story you're living does not seem to match the story I whispered in your spirit. Yet, impossible is a human verdict, not my limitation. I spoke cosmos into existence when nothing was. I parted seas, closed the mouths of lions, raised the dead, and brought light into darkness. When a promise from me seems impossible, it means you are being invited into a deeper level of dependence, where my power, not your understanding or effort alone, becomes the active force. Listen, I do not promise what I cannot fulfill. When I say a door will open, I have already dispatched the timing, the alignment, and the unseen preparation. The seeming impossibility is the crucible that refines your faith, not the block that cancels my word. Why promises look impossible before the breakthrough. There are seasons where the very things I have spoken feel delayed, stalled, or swallowed by silence. This silence is fertile ground, but only if you do not misinterpret it as absence. Here is why. My promises often feel impossible before they break through. Therapists' preparation of the vessel. I shape the vessel that will contain the promise. Sometimes your heart, your perspective, your patience, or your maturity must be stretched so that when the promise comes, you can steward it without breaking it or wasting it. A massage of mint of timing. My timing is not human timing. What you perceive as a delay is often divine synchronization. I am aligning people, circumstances, and even the hidden pieces of your story so that the promise will arrive with maximal impact, not premature fragility. Ovidum of faith, the uneasy of faith. The uneasy space between promise and manifestation tests whether you will anchor in me or in shifting sight. Faith is not belief in what you see, it is trust in what I have said when everything around you says otherwise. Path that conceals the miracle. Some promises require a path that looks contradictory. I may lead you through challenges that to others would seem like detours, but those very pathways are the ones that position you where the impossible transforms into the inevitable. In every case, the impossible is temporary. The promise is permanent. Your job is not to figure out every detail. It is to remain connected, obedient, and expectant. I will bring the rest. The language of my promise versus the language of fear. Fear will try to reinterpret my word through the lens of scarcity, failure, and the evidence of temporary seasons. It will speak, time is running out. You missed the window. You're too broken. You've waited too long. That promise was for someone else. That is not my voice. My language is steady. It says, I have not forgotten. I am with you. This is the hour. I am making a way. When you hear the whisper of impossibility, respond with my truth. Speak back to your doubt with what I've already declared. Let my word be louder than your fear. Silence the argument of impossibility by choosing to rehearse the evidence of my faithfulness in your past and holding fast to the promise in your present. Faith does not ignore reality. It refuses to be ruled by the negative interpretation of it. It holds my promise as the final authority. It says, God has said it. I will believe it. I will live like it, even while I wait, because His word is true. Stories written in the margin of impossible. I have always turned the margins of impossibility into my greatest testimonies. The widow who had nothing but a little oil, the barren womb made fruitful, the lost son found, the silent prison turned into a platform. These are not myths. They are patterns of my heart. You may feel like a footnote in your own story, like the page is torn or smudged, but I am the author, and I write in layers that you cannot always see at once. The story of your promise is not over, because the impossible is in play. In fact, the impossible makes the final act more glorious. When it seems all doors are closed, I am opening a new one behind the facade. When every human resource is exhausted, my supernatural supply surges. When hope is ebbing, the tide of breakthrough is due to come in. I have orchestrated testimonies out of worse places than yours. That does not mean I will drag you through needless pain, but it does mean the place where you are now, where it feels impossible, is exactly where I am preparing to unveil my glory. How to position yourself while waiting. While you wait for what has been spoken to manifest, the way you position your heart matters more than any strategy you try to rely on. Here's what I am asking of you. Stare in my presence. Do not measure progress only by external movement. Presence is preparation. In the quiet and the waiting, I am composing strength, clarity, and revelation for the next step. Outspeak my promise over yourself. Language shapes your faith. Speak what I've said. Declare the promise even when you don't yet see it. Your confession is a conduit. It aligns your spirit with my intention. Refuse the lie of comparison. The path I have for you is not the one someone else is on. Do not let others' timelines dictate your hope or derail your trust. I am working your story in unique rhythms and purposes. Be active in obedience, not anxiety. Waiting is not passivity. Do what I show you to do. Take the steps I light. Prepare where I direct. But do it without compulsive striving. Let peace be the compass, not panic. I reward faithful smallness, not frantic bigness born of fear. Guard your heart. Doubt will knock, so will distraction. Protect your inner place with truth, worship, and constant reorientation to me. The impossible loses its power when your heart is anchored in my identity, not your circumstance. When other voices try to rewrite the promise, there will be voices, well-meaning or not, that try to recast my promise into their version of reality. They will advise you to abandon it, to settle, to lower your expectation, to find a safer substitute. These voices often sound reasonable, because impossibility wears the garment of logic. Test every counselor and every suggestion against the promise I placed in you. I do not contradict myself. If the core of the promise remains clear in your spirit, do not trade it for temporary comfort or human compromise. I will sometimes allow the pressure of other opinions to refine your clarity, because when all else is stripped away, you will know what remains is truly from me. Stand firm, not in stubbornness, but in rootedness. The promise I gave will not be redefined by opinion. It will be fulfilled by my purpose. The glory that comes through impossible. The fulfillment of a promise that once seemed impossible is not only a blessing to you, it carries my glory. It becomes a light for others, a testimony that powerfully declares that the world is not governed only by what people see, but by what I can do. When your impossible turns into I see it, people will ask, how? And you will have the sacred privilege to say, I waited, I trusted, God was faithful. Your story becomes a bridge for someone else's faith. Your breakthrough, layered with the scars of waiting and the evidence of my faithfulness, inspires others to believe again, to stay in the dark season, to hold to the promise, even when logic calls them to quit. Do not shrink from the impossible. Embrace it. Carry it like a banner, because its resolution will point back, not to you, but to me. What to do when you feel like giving up? There are seasons when your faith feels thin, when the promise is still not visible, and the temptation to give up whispers louder than the promise itself. In those moments, return to the quiet place where you first heard me. Remember the initial stirring, the assurance that pierced your doubt, the small confirmations you received when you first believed. Feed your heart with the memory of my past faithfulness. I am not a God of forgetfulness. I remember.
I remember who you were when you first believed, and I remember what I promised.
Let the remembrance swell your courage. Allow your weakness to expose my strength. Lean into me, not to manufacture more faith, but to be held by the faithful one who never breaks a promise. You are closer than you think. Do not let the horizon vanish because of the fog at your feet. The breakthrough light is rising. Keep walking. I am with you. The covenant behind the promise. Every promise I give is backed by covenant. It is not based on your performance. It is tethered to my character. When I promise, I plan. When I speak, I move toward fulfillment. You are not bargaining with chance. You are standing on my word, which is living, active, and unchanging. If you doubt the promise, do not doubt me. Your doubt is a question. I welcome your questions when they lead you back to deeper intimacy, not when they pull you into cynicism. Ask, seek, knock. But do so with the expectation that I am a good father, and a good father does not break what he has promised. A final word. The promise is for you and through you. The promise that feels impossible is not an abstract idea or a distant blessing. It is a real, living thread woven into your particular story. It is for your healing, your calling, your restoration, your purpose. But it is also for others. Your obedience in holding it, your patience in waiting, and your testimony in witnessing its fulfillment become part of a ripple that extends far beyond you. So take heart. I am doing what you cannot see. I am moving in the shadows to bring light. The promise is not stalled. It is being perfected. Your job is simple. Keep your eyes and heart turned toward me. Speak the promise over your life. Respond in faith and receive with thanksgiving when the impossible becomes your evidence. I have said it. I will do it. Trust me. Act in alignment with what I've spoken. The breakthrough is coming, and with it, a new chapter written in the bold script of my faithfulness. When the promise seems impossible, remember, my inability is what does not exist. What seems like a dead end to you is a launching pad in my hands. Stand firm. Speak my truth. Keep moving. The promise is on its way, and I am with you every step of the waiting and every second of the arrival. You are not alone. You are chosen. You are beloved. The impossible is only the prelude to the glorious, and I am faithful to finish what I began.